The season break is finally over, and Max Verstappen is still untouchable. He tackled multiple challenges at the Dutch Grand Prix and secured his 9th consecutive victory. With this level of dominance, it's hard not to imagine him always taking the lead. But could it be because of his team prioritising him over his teammate Sergio Perez? See for yourself in today's video. Zandvoort marked his 11th win out of 13 races this year, and an impressive 26th win out of 35 since the beginning of 2022. Verstappen is an unstoppable force, and what's even more daunting for his competitors is that the Dutchman still has another 9 races, along with 3 sprint events to conquer this year. Even in a race as eventful as the one at Zandvoort on Sunday, where there was heavy rain both at the start and the end, and a restart occurred just 6 laps before the finish, Verstappen managed to secure his victory with a comfortable margin of 3.744 seconds ahead of Fernando Alonso. Adding to the excitement, Verstappen matched Sebastian Vettel's 2013 winning streak at his own home event, a feat made possible solely due to his meteoric rise to stardom. Formula One made a comeback to the circuit in the seaside resort town in 2021, which coincided with Verstappen's inaugural championship season. He said on Sunday that it was probably one of the more difficult races to win, but yeah, 9 in a row is something I never even thought about. Very happy with that. But I'm in general very happy to win here in front of my home crowd. Verstappen seems to be heading towards securing the championship sometime around September, or more likely October. Based on his current performance, it's probable that he might clinch it during the Qatar Grand Prix, with 5 more events still remaining in the season. Verstappen and Red Bull have taken over from Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes as the leading presence in Formula One. Similar to the situation with the previous world champions, they'll encounter critics and doubters who attribute their success solely to having the fastest car. For those who've been following Verstappen since his debut in 2015, it's clear that he's always been viewed as a once-in-a-generation talent. The ongoing streak we're witnessing only serves to reinforce that notion. Christian Horner, the head of Red Bull, believes that we're witnessing something truly exceptional, saying this on Sunday night. I think that Max is in a period of his career where he's simply untouchable. I don't think there's any driver on the grid that would be able to achieve what he's been doing in that car. During the news conference on Sunday, featuring the top 3 finishers, Verstappen highlighted the fact that having the fastest car doesn't guarantee an automatic victory. He said, "Even if you have the best car, and I think there have been more dominant cars in the past than what we have at the moment, and they haven't been able to do so, to win 9 in a row, whatever, the consecutive wins we have as a team. So it is hard. And especially like today, it's easy to make a wrong call or even drop it yourself in the gravel or whatever. It's never that straightforward, unfortunately." While observing Verstappen's demeanour outside the race car, some people perceive that he doesn't appear to be burdened by the pressure that comes with being the standout figure in the top echelon of motor racing. The impulsive outbursts that characterised his earlier career have largely faded away, now replaced by a sense of composure. When asked about whether he thought Verstappen experienced pressure, Horner responded by saying, "Of course, you'd be a robot not to, and you can see it in his face. There were 100,000 Dutch men and women singing the Dutch national anthem. That's a big moment for any national driver. He's got the royal family here coming to see him. But just before he steps in that car, he's got so much expectation, and you have to feel that. It must be a huge relief for him when he leaves the circuit tonight that he's ticked that box." Red Bull is currently on track for an undefeated season, a feat never before accomplished in Formula One. Verstappen's teammate, Sergio Perez, secured victories in 2 out of the initial 4 races, but he has faced challenges while operating in Verstappen's shadow since the Dutch driver overtook him to win at the Miami Grand Prix in May. According to Horner, Perez's difficulties underscore the remarkable level at which Verstappen has been performing throughout this year, saying, "Being his teammate is probably, in some respects, the most unenviable job to have because the barometer is so high. Checo's pace actually in the race was strong again today. We saw drivers miss the cut completely in qualifying, not even make Q3 when you were expecting them to. Yeah, it's very, very difficult. What we're witnessing at the moment is a driver who is generational." If you look at the previous races in Bahrain, he was, in the first race, already in a commanding position. He then had a drive shaft failure in Saudi in qualifying. His recovery through the field was pretty impressive there, so he's been in incredible form for about the past 3 years, I think. A heavy downpour at the beginning of the Dutch Grand Prix prompted strategic decisions across the grid right from the start. Perez, by being the first to take a gamble on switching to intermediate tyres, managed to take the lead. Verstappen managed to outmaneuver Perez when it was time to switch back to slick tyres. The Dutchman made the move a lap earlier, closing the gap to his teammate while using the intermediate tyres, and subsequently overtook Perez after his pit stop, regaining the lead. Talking about the intense sequence of events, Horner said that it was tricky because when you're the first car, it is very hard to make that call. Checo pulled the trigger, made a great call, got in, the team reacted super fast, we got him back out. We then got Max in immediately. Others we were surprised to see stay out. And then, of course, Max started coming through the field so quickly. Checo at the front had pulled a good gap as well and was focused on trying to get a pit stop over the cars behind. So that was pivotal in the first part of getting the calls right. Despite Perez's quick decision-making, he didn't end up holding on to his position due to Verstappen's strategic undercut. This led to some speculation that Red Bull may have orchestrated the outcome they were aiming for, ensuring Verstappen moved ahead of his teammate again. But Horner clarified that the team isn't playing favourites with their drivers, despite what others think. He explained that Verstappen's outlap was unexpectedly much faster than anticipated, leading to the shift in positions. Well, there were a couple of reasons behind making that decision. One was that we'd obviously had Alonso taking the slicks as well, and I think it was Gasly behind him and the pace of the undercut. If we'd have pitted Checo first and Max the second lap, we had the risk of coming out after that had shaken down as being first and fourth. The risk was for Checo because Max was catching at, I think, 7 seconds in 3 laps. His outlap was so extreme it took us slightly by surprise that Max jumped Checo. So just so much happening in very, very variable conditions. Perez took another chance later in the race when heavier rain made a comeback, transitioning from slick tyres to intermediates and then to wet tyres before the race was halted with a red flag. However, when the race resumed, it was revealed that Perez had received a 5-second penalty for exceeding the speed limit in the pit lane. It was later discovered that Perez had hydroplaned while entering the pits, causing him to collide with the wall. Horner explained that his driver was more like surfing than speeding, and as a result of the penalty, Perez had to settle for 4th place. Horner added that he made a great first call to get in early. He was one of the first to get onto the inters. The next call he made at the pit entrance. So, of course, the team weren't ready for it, but it was reacting to the weather and we were still able to turn it around. He was just desperately unlucky because it looks like he got the fine for speeding in the pit lane when he came into the pits before the red flag. And he's hit the pit wall up there, which is why the repairs were taking place on his car, and hence the pickup of the 5-second penalty. He was probably actually surfing at that point as opposed to speeding, but very harsh for him, and he deserves very much to be on the podium today. This outcome has led Verstappen to widen his lead in the Drivers' Championship over Perez, with the gap now reaching a substantial 138 points. But is he really that much better than Checo? Or does he get a little help from Christian Horner and Helmut Marko? Tell us what you think in the comment section down below. And, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.